Welcome back to eSIMstudios. So Google recently dropped Android 16 QPR2, a beta 3.3 for Pixel devices, and it was quite a significant upgrade. It was packed with new customization options, productivity features, and security enhancements. We're going to review all the new upgrades in this new QPR2 beta 3.3 release for Pixel devices. Y'all ready? Let's go. So this first feature we are going to take a look at is something that Pixel users have wanted forever. And it essentially comes from the custom ROM world and actually some other Android manufacturers, and it has to do with custom icon shapes. So if you have a Pixel, it's running on the beta program, and you just got the new update, it's very easy and kind of fun to do. And as you can tell, I've already customized my icon. So what you're going to want to do is long press on the home screen, and you want to go to Wallpaper and Style. Now, if you scroll down and go to Icons, they give you a number of different shapes. Now, you can just go with the stock look. You can do a more of a squircle kind of design, a rounded square look. You got the X look. You got the, octagon look. And then you have like the little Android drop look. You can also theme them as well. We've had themed icons, but now you can shape it differently. So I'm going to probably leave it just, you know what? Let's go with that, and then we'll move forward. I think I need, you know what? It was already on that. Let's do this, and we'll hit apply. There we go. Boom. Voila. Now, this next feature is probably one of my favorites. It's the expanded dark theme. So, as you know, there was previously a dark theme mode that you could enable in developer options, but this basically enables it to most all apps. So, if you previously enabled dark mode in developer options in the past, it would only apply to only a number of applications. How applications work, developers actually have to write that in their code. They have to write it in the app to basically force a dark mode or have a dark mode option. Well, this bypasses all that, and now the operating system will force a dark mode and essentially activate that dark mode for you, bypassing the developer's code. And I'm going to show you a application here with the expanded dark mode and without what it looks like without. So, but to enable this, look, a lot of these, the easiest thing to do is go to your settings app and then search for it. But I'm going to show you in here how to find some of these. But the expanded dark mode, and again, you can just search for expanded dark mode. But if you go to your settings app and then you go to display and touch right here, and then you go to dark theme right there, you can turn on expanded dark. Now, I already turned mine on. It was on standard. I have been rocking expanded dark mode, which essentially, as I mentioned, forces a lot of these apps to go dark mode. So if you like everything blacked out, you're going to love this new feature. Now, let's try an application and compare it to because this application I have right here does not have a dark mode, but now it does. Now, it's normally, this is all white. Let me see if I can get it back. It's probably, well, I spoke too soon, but this is what it typically looks like, and this is dark mode. So, and of course, this is an iPhone, but it'll expand dark mode as much as possible. This app is typically all whited out, as you can tell on the iPhone, but expanded dark mode will make things, will give it a dark and/or black AMOLED type of look. Now, I don't have many apps on here, as you can tell. Basically, just stock apps, except these two. Let's see if it forces dark mode in Canva. It does, because that was all blue before. So it's really cool. So what you can do is go enable it and go run throughout your apps and see just exactly which applications might be, that's cool, might be dark. That's all black now. So you'll want to go enable expanded dark mode, and then most of your apps should be dark from there on out. And next up, we have an option that you might use quite more than me, because I definitely don't use this next option, but it is available if you want it. It's the low light mode. So Android screensaver function allows apps to display useful info when your device is idle, like when you're not using it, but until now, right? So you could only enable it one at a time. This meant that if you wanted to use the home controls screensaver during the day but switch to the clock at night, you had to toggle between them manually. Well, not anymore. So in this new Android 16 QPR2 beta 3.3, it addresses this issue, this manual switching, with a new low light mode. It's found at the bottom of displays. So if you go to setting, displays, and touch, where we were just at, and then you go to screensaver right here, this option automatically switches to a dimmed clock when the ambient light drops low, regardless of which screensaver you have selected. Now, this gives you the best of both worlds, essentially. Your preferred screensaver during the day and a subtle night clock after dark when you lay your head down on the pillow. Similar to the experience on the Pixel tablet. So if any of y'all have the Pixel tablet, which I'm sure not many of y'all do, the tablet sucks, but if you do have it, that was preloaded on there from. And before we move on, you can prevent that screensaver from activating unless the device is wirelessly charging. So to do that, you go to you toggle the restrict to wireless charging option under settings, display, touch, screensaver, and when to show. This is the enhanced HDR brightness. So if you're tired of HDR content blinding you while you're doom scrolling at night, this is going to help. So you'll want to check out the new enhanced HDR brightness setting. Right? So this is located, again, we're going to go to settings, we're going to go to display and touch, and then we're going to go to enhanced HDR brightness. I've already got mine toggled on. And let's see what this does, right? So it allows you to dial it back, or completely disable it if you want to. The screen brightening effect associated with some HDR content. So since screenshots can't really easily convey this difference, think of it as a way of disabling a feature, making HDR content appear identical to standard SDR images. Alternatively, you can use the slider to precisely control the intensity of the HDR brightness, such as a bright sky or water reflections, while dimming these elements reduces the visual impact of HDR. Makes for a much comfortable viewing experience in low light. Now, if you want to disable background blur, like when you pull down the quick settings panel, they've enabled that as well. So if you're not a fan of that background blur that was introduced with that new Material 3 expressive redesign, you can now disable these effects system-wide. So what you're going to want to do is go back into your settings application and find accessibility. Let's see, where should that be? Right at the bottom. And then you're going to want to find color and motion, which is right at the top. And you are going to toggle on reduce blur effects, right? You can tell that's already enabled. You can enable it and disable it. Now, once enabled, you won't see any blur in the quick settings panel, the notification shade, the lock screen, the app drawer, or the recents menu. Let's give it a try. So that is that's toggled on. No background blur. Let's see. Let's go home. Now, let's toggle that off. There, you see that's blurry. Now you can take that off as we just saw. So moving into some productivity features in Android 16 QPR2 beta 3.3, we now have a new notification organizer. So as part of the November 2025 Pixel drop, Google announced an intelligent new AI-powered notification summaries feature. This feature uses an on-device AI model to recap lengthy conversation messages from popular chat applications. Now, with this new update, you get Notifications Organizer, which also utilizes on-device AI, but focuses on sorting your alerts to declutter the notification panel, available on Pixel 9 and newer devices, excluding the 9A. So if you have a Pixel 9 and or a Pixel 10 for notifications in English, Notification Organizer silences and bundles alerts into 4 categories: promotions, news, social, and suggested. All you got to do is go to your settings, go to the notifications, and then Notification Organizer. In this menu, you can also exclude specific apps from being bundled and choose whether bundled notifications should expand automatically or manually, right? Now, you can also get lock screen widgets on your phone. This is pretty cool. Let me show you how it works. This feature is still in beta. Obviously, we're on the beta program, so usability will vary, depending on user and or device, I'm sure. But let me show you kind of how this works. And you're going to need to enable it manually. So you'll do that by navigating to the settings application. You're going to want to go to display and touch. And then you're going to want to go to a lock screen, right? And then you need to select widgets on lock screen right here. And let's select that. And as you can tell, when enabled, to access your favorite widget, swipe left from your lock screen. And then when you open an app using a widget, you'll need to verify it's you, basically for security measures. Also keep in mind that anyone can view them. So you don't want to put too much personal information. Let me see if I can activate this. Let me see if I can activate my lock screen without unlocking it. I'll hide my face behind the camera. There we go. What do you know? Bitcoin. So just swipe from the lock screen. Okay, so this next feature is actually really cool. It's called 9010 split screen mode. So split screen multitasking gets a major upgrade in this new Android 16 QPR2 Beta 3.3 with the new 9010 split ratio. So this mode allocates 90% of the screen to one application, while reserving the remaining 10% for another, allowing you to focus on a primary task while keeping a secondary app within reach. When you want to switch apps, simply tap the smaller window. The apps will essentially flip-flop the positions, with the tapped app expanding to occupy the larger view. And the 90-10 split ratio is simply very effective. It's a great improvement to Android's multitasking capabilities. I know you can do this in some Oppo phones and I believe Samsung as well. So let's go ahead and show you how that works. So let's say I'm watching a YouTube video. What do you know? My giveaway is coming up. Let's say you're watching a video, right? And you want to work on a thumbnail. So I want to watch YouTube while working on a thumbnail. So basically now, you'll need to have Canva open in the background or another app open in the background. So let's say you want to go to YouTube and you can go to your recents, touch on the top screen menu, and then go to split screen. And then it's going to ask you, what app do you want to split it with, right? And I'm going to say Canva because I want to watch my giveaway video. Well, that's a live stream, but just for example purposes. And let's say I want to watch the football highlights while working on a thumbnail. So I've already had YouTube open. I touched on the recents menu on the YouTube app, and it's asking me what app I want to split screen with. So I'm going to say Canva. And then there's the divider right there. You see this little bar right there? And now it's basically split in half. What you can do is there's your 90-10 split, and you can still scroll YouTube while I continue to work on this app. It's actually really cool. And if you want to switch apps, you simply tap the smaller window and they are supposed to swap positions. Let's see. Well, that didn't work. You can essentially, I guess the tap doesn't work on here. I'm not sure if it's device specific, but you can manually move the display of either one. So if I want to focus my attention on YouTube, I can still do that. Or if I want to focus my attention on Canva and work on my thumbnails, I can still do that, right? Pretty cool. Now, there are some new features that I cannot show you right here, right now on this device, but I will briefly explain to you what they are. There is now graphical app support in a Linux terminal, right? So the Linux terminal app is an incredibly powerful tool, allowing developers and tech-savvy users to run full-fledged Linux software in a virtual machine since launch. However, it has been limited to command line applications. Thankfully, this new Android 16 QPR2 Beta 3.3 update changes all of that. It introduces support for graphical desktop Linux applications. Also, there is enhanced support for touchpads and mice. So if you pair your phone to Bluetooth and or a keyboard, or you have a new Pixel 10 series and pair it to a external monitor, you now have enhanced support for touchpads and mice, which is very nice. I did not mean to make that rhyme, but sounds pretty cool, right? Let's get into some other new features. So Android now comes with parental controls built in, which is very cool. I believe you would have to download an application for that in the past. Now, what was that? Google Family Link. But with this new version, it comes with parental controls built in. It gives you a new menu providing a centralized location for managing device-specific restrictions. Parents can use this menu to set up daily screen time limits and schedule downtime to automatically lock the device at night and drive your kids insane, in turn driving you insane as well. Also get new security features in Android 16 QPR2 Beta 3.3 that protect your data. So you get identity check expansion to applications and Google Pixel watches. Identity check is an optional safeguard that enforces biometric authentication for critical actions whenever your device leaves a designated trusted location. Now, it closes this loophole by extending identity check to third-party apps that utilize biometric prompts. Google is also integrating smartwatch support into identity check. If a compatible Pixel Watch 3 or newer is connected, identity check will remain dormant, even outside trusted locations. The logic is simple. If the phone is near your watch, it is likely still in your possession. Once the thief or somebody creates a noticeable difference between the two, breaking the Bluetooth connection, identity check instantly activates, locking down the device. You also get protection from SMS OTP hijacking. The operating system suppresses the receive _ SMS broadcast so other apps aren't alerted that a new message has arrived. Secondly, it filters SMS provider database queries, effectively hiding these specific messages from view. These safeguards persist for 3 hours, ample time for the code to expire and become useless to attackers. You also get new secure lock device, so a new system-level security state called secure lock device has been added in Android 16 QPR2 Beta 3.3. When enabled, the device immediately locks and requires the primary PIN, pattern, or password to unlock the device. I will put a link in the description box down below if you want to do a deep dive and everything, and there's a lot. I just barely scratched the surface. This is like one of the biggest updates I can remember on a Pixel device, and it comes in beta form. So this is a huge update, not just by the way it looks, but under the hood, settings, security, everything. It's a major update. And this is the reason why I have at least one Pixel device on beta software. My main one's not. This one is. I use this one just to play around with. And this is exactly why. This update's freaking huge. Check out the link below in the description box, and you can do a deep dive into some of the other new features that were added. Peace out.